the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear is what we'll be discussing today. So these two books, they're good. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. They're enjoyable. They're fun to read. Patrick Rothfuss has a really, really enjoyable writing style, I think. I think that he, just prose, page-to-page writing is really fun to read, and Quoth, your main character, is quite... I find him interesting. I think he's a cool dude, and I want to find out more about him, so every sort of page I'm like, oh, what's Quoth going to do next? So, with that out of the way, cool character, well-written, let's get into some of the shortcomings of this book, or these two books. I'm doing them both together, because they're kind of blend into one for me. Because I felt that the first one kind of ended in the middle of nowhere, and so the second one I just kind of viewed in my mind as an extension of the first one. So the problem with this book is that nothing happens, or these two books, is that nothing happens. So much happens, right? Your main character, Quoth, he does so much stuff, he goes around, he experiences all these changes, and he goes and does all this crazy stuff all around this big world. Except, nothing happens in terms of the plot. So the main villains are set up, almost at the very start, your main character, he's having a great life, it's all going well, and then suddenly his family gets massacred, right? By this mysterious group. Now, the idea at least, is that he was going to spend, the rest of his life trying to investigate this mysterious group so he can find them and eventually presumably kill them. And so that's kind of I think that's what Patrick Rothfuss intends the overall plot to be. Now, you can tell there's already a problem when I don't know what the plot is going to be, and I've read two books. Long books as well, these are not small books. And, yeah, so I don't, there's been no development in this plot over the course of these two books, so basically he's just sort of found some fairy tales about these guys, and that's kind of it. You haven't really experienced... He hasn't really, progressed towards his goal at all. He's progressed as a person, possibly, and he's definitely become more powerful and more talented and more educated, but towards his goal, which I'm assuming is the plot, he hasn't progressed towards. And yeah, so I have to say, assuming is the plot, because that's, there's nothing else happening, but that doesn't seem to be happening very much either. Now, another problem with this book is that Quoth is this is sort of hard to explain. He's, mentally overpowered, as in he's super duper smart. So he's got all these kind of situations figured out, he's got all these crazy solutions. He's almost, now I never watched this TV show because I'm too young, but I feel like he's almost like MacGyver-ish. I've heard that phrase, he would he'll be in a crazy situation, and then he'll come up with this real off-the-cuff kind of solution where he'll put a couple of things together and suddenly, he's got the problem solved. And that's kind of cool, but also it feels kind of Mary Sue-ish, everybody Quoth encounters he's just smarter than, and so he can he's always got the upper hand mentally, and that's fun and all, but it also feels a little bit unsatisfying, but maybe that's just me. But the one good thing, though, about these sort of MacGyver solutions is that they are interesting and they are cool, and they're cool and interesting because the magic system is kind of cool and interesting. It's quite a hard magic system, I think, at least the sympathy system, which is it seems to me to be the main magic. It's quite a hard magic system, it's almost kind of physicsy, and so the magic system does kind of set up for some really interesting situations and really interesting solutions to problems, so that's cool. But yeah, you know what, though, it's for me, I'm a very character, I read stories for the character more than the plot, as you may have been able to tell if you've seen any of my other reviews, and so I honestly kind of had a good time reading this. It was well written, the character was interesting, and also the style that the book is written in, as in it's a character narrating his own life years later, I think is really cool, and I think it's, I don't know if it's fresh specifically, but it's fresh to me. I haven't really encountered this too much, where you kind of have these jumps in time back and forth where he's in his inn recounting a story, and then suddenly he's back in the story, and so I think that's kind of cool. So for me, that's new, and that's interesting, and the character is cool, and what he does is cool. He goes and does some kind of crazy exploits, and the world is cool. He goes all around this huge world doing things. Well, I say all around. Most of it's in the university, but then there's a section at the end of Wise Man's Fair where he goes out into the world, and it's quite cool. But yeah, I don't know. The plot just doesn't seem to really be going anywhere, and I would be flabbergasted if Patrick Rothfuss can figure out how to finish this, because it's called the Kingkiller Chronicles, right? So in theory, there's going to be some king who needs to be killed, but we've not even met a king, So I don't know. I would be shocked if Patrick Rothfuss can end this in a single book. If he can and he can wrap it up, I will be impressed, but yeah, I don't really think it's going to happen. But yeah, thanks for watching.